Hello, and welcome to a catastrophic event. Today, we are excited to begin a four-part interview with survival enthusiast David Wilson. David has 5 children and 2 grandchildren. He loves fishing, gardening, hiking, hunting, playing games, and watching movies with his family. David's survival odyssey began when he was 15 and he enrolled in the Anastasia Therapeutic Wilderness Program in Payson, Arizona. Hiking over 500 miles in 115 days, David learned to navigate using the sun and stars, craft weapons, set traps and snares, identify plants, track, survive on available food, and build shelters. Later, David became a senior staff member of the Second Nature Wilderness Program, where he taught primitive skills to the students in Duchesne, Utah. David and his wife live on the Northern Idaho homestead they bought in 2009. They built their home, outbuildings, water collection and storage systems, animal cages, gardens, greenhouses, and solar systems. And we are blessed to have David share some of his knowledge of foraging and herbal medicine with us today. Hello there. Hi. I'm Steve Neal, and this is a catastrophic event. And today we have Dave Wilson as my guest, and we are going to talk about herbs, about foraging, about basically how to become your own
Pharmacy.
pharmacy. Perfect.
Yeah, including plant identification.
And I'm very excited to have him with me. And so we're just going to go ahead, and we got a lot to talk about, so we're just going to go ahead and rock and roll.
Cool.
And why don't you go ahead and start telling us about mullein and what it does and where we go with this.
Okay, well, before that, I'd actually like to start where a person, the viewer, needs to start is they need to actually have a drive that this is something I want to get into and to have fun with it. We are a part
Right.
of an amazing creation. I
Right.
mean, it's radical. So to be able to go out and feel comfortable, oh look, there's mullein or dandelion or wild rose, that's awesome. And that's the goal, yet even a step further is knowing how to use those different plants in a daily life or just camping. So with that, there's the desire. A person needs to then also be able to identify the plant. So some plants, they have flowers, all plants have leaves, they all have stems and roots. And so it's a matter of breaking it apart, what makes them different. Some flowers, they're tiny, others are big, some have 5 petals. Looking for little characteristics like that, and then also looking at the leaves. Some of them are long and narrow, some are serrated. The stems, they can be smooth, they can also be hairy as well. And then also the different climate. And I think we should really emphasize that this is not medical information
Right.
intended to treat, diagnose, or cure anything that anybody might have. I just want to throw that out.
Right.
That
Very
this
good.
is ancient knowledge, and for thousands of years humans have been using what's been around, but just to cover us.
Right. Yeah, see, the thing is this. We're living in a time where I firmly believe you want to become as independent as you can. You need to be able to, if you don't sleep well, okay, so there's herbs out there
Yes.
that can help you.
Yes.
Okay, the bottom line is we are dependent on China and foreign countries for our medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not playing ball very well anymore with these countries.
No.
And at any time, something could change,
Yes.
and we may not be able to get the medicines we need.
Mm-hmm.
So all of a sudden, if you can't sleep, you're out of luck. So by having knowledge like this, you can go into the woods, or you can go into areas around you and look for these, or you can plant them yourselves. Most of these are actually weeds listed in the weeds of the West, which is hilarious because a lot of them are actually very good, very practical plants to have around. And a lot of them you probably even have in your own yard and don't even know about it or want to get rid of.
Yeah, now you brought up one of the books I brought. These are some from our library, and I want to point out some very important things that you, as the watcher, want to take into consideration when purchasing books. The internet is great. Google is wonderful. Let's see, my wife, she uses, picture this. So it's an app where you can go up with your phone, you just point it at the plant, and it narrows it down. It's pretty precise, and they do a pretty good job. Me personally, I like hard copies. I like something that it doesn't require electricity or gasoline. That knowledge is always here, and it's not going to change. When it comes to scientific stuff like this, and with botany, you're going to get basically two categories of information. My favorite are like this, something that's waterproof, but more importantly has color palettes inside of it so that you can see what it looks like. You can be walking on that path in the forest or around the lake, and you can look at something, and some of them are set up so that in the back it's organized by white flowers or yellow flowers or what have you. And then you can turn to the page, look at that picture, and then have a positive identification for it. And then it'll go into the description of the plant, when it's around, the habitat, and then hopefully it's going to have information to tell you about whether it's edible, if it has any medicinal properties, or if it's poisonous.
Yeah, see, another one book that I definitely recommend is The Lost Book of Herbal Remedies, and it's exactly like you said.
That is your go-to.
Right, and so you have a good picture of a great plant. I mean, mullein I actually use myself because I have asthma, and when we had COVID twice, my wife and I, mullein was great as a tea. It helped bring the stuff up. We could breathe easier. You drink 5-6 cups a day. You're not ODing on anything. It's got a good flavor. It brings the stuff up. You feel better, and it's just an all-around treat to have mullein in your house. And that's just one of the herbs that we're going to be talking about. But again, you want to make sure you have a book or an ability to get a good picture so you know what it is.
Yes, and continuing on, going out and practicing that knowledge. And make it fun. Go out exploring. There's this new saying, I don't know if it's an insult or, actually trying to get people outside, but go out and touch grass. Like, more than touch grass, try to identify the plants that are intermixed. Can you spot the dandelion? Everybody should know what a dandelion looks like, and everybody kills them in their yard. We grow them, and I have the kids spread the seeds everywhere because we have them in our salads. Absolutely delicious.
Every part is edible.
Yes, the flower, the stalk, the leaves, and the roots. And the roots are used as a coffee substitute. And so by taking roughly five full-size dandelion, cut the root off, cut them into little pieces, and then basically cook them in a skillet to where they turn dark colored, you can then grind them up in a grinder and make a coffee with it. You can buy it online right now. Dandelion root coffee.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Does it taste like coffee?
I actually have not tried it. I do like my coffee though. So it's good to know that if something happened that I have it right there. And again, it's that knowledge.
Oh, one thing that has to be said, you need to know where you're sourcing your plants, because if you're going out into a park or you're going into your neighbor's yard, they could have sprayed herbicides on it.
Yes.
And so you need to go someplace where they haven't been sprayed. Go out into a national forest or national park or state park or something like that where they have not been sprayed. That is a huge thing you need to think about. But if you go away from people,
Yeah.
the chances of it having been sprayed are pretty much nil.
Yeah, and carrying on with what you're talking about, a lot of really good plants are found in riparian areas, so next to streams and ponds and marshes. Cattail is a great example of a plant that will absorb all of the heavy metals in the soil and the water. So if there's any kind of, waste coming from any kind of industry coming into that area, it is in that plant too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So definitely, use your eyes, look around. Does it look healthy? Look in the water. Are there dead fish in there? Can you see an oily scum on top? Or is it clear? Can you see fish and little bugs in there? Is it alive? Is it teeming with life? That's something that we want to partake in because it gives us life.
Right, exactly. It's funny you mentioned cattails because the woman who wrote this book, Dr. Nicole, she actually loves cattails. There's
It's
all
delicious.
there's all kinds of things you can do with it. I mean, she recommends it all the time. She does that is her, that is her favorite plant on earth is a cattail.
Yeah, you can use the tops. You can use those to start fires, okay? Because it breaks apart. It's really loose and dry. You can also use the leaves, the long leaves coming up. They can be woven together. You can make baskets with it, shade hats, mats to sleep on. And then the best part for eating is the bottom, say maybe 6 or 8 inches, where it starts getting really white. You're going to peel back all of those leaves, all the green, till it's white. And when you get down to that white, it's delicious. It's almost like water chestnut as far as a texture, not a flavor. It's very neutral, benign as far as a flavor. But the best parts are the rhizomes. So the little soon-to-be roots coming off, the little nubs, those are by far the best part. Extremely dense as far as nutrition and calories as well. So
Wow. Yeah, she does mention that is one plant that if that's the only thing you had,
you're doing pretty good if you have that. I mean, there are a couple staples that it doesn't matter if a viewer's in Florida or China or Mexico, there's going to be grass everywhere.
Right.
And that is one species that there are no toxic or poisonous grass species. And when I bring up grass, people might be thinking, what, I eat it like a cow? Well, yeah, you can chew on it. Our digestive tract isn't designed to break down the cellulose that well. But what we can do is during the fall time, the summer and fall time, we can harvest the seeds off the top. So remember, as a kid going through a field, you just hold on to a grass and you just rip it up and you got a handful and you throw it at your friend or your brother or sister. Well, that right there is nutrition. Our body can break that down because it's just like wheat and barley and rye. And so you can take it, you can mix it around in your hand, hopefully have a basket or a shirt or something where you can make sure you don't lose much. And then as you're rubbing it around, you can then gently blow on it, and that's blowing the chaff off.
Right.
All of
the hulls off.
That's right. And so you're left with just the seeds, and then you can just eat the seeds like that. You can soak them in water and eat them like that. You can boil them, just like you could do with wheat or any other
If you
grain.
dry them, you can turn them into flour.
Exactly. If you dry them and then crush them down, get a flour, add a little bit of water to it, and you can make what in a wilderness program I was at, we call them ash cakes. So you make these little cakes and you just put them right on the coals and flip it over, and it's food.
Wow. That is amazing. That's very cool. And again, that is something, it doesn't have to be the end of the world type stuff. If you want to go camping with your kids, that'd be a fun thing to do. That'd be
It's
a fun
knowledge,
activity.
yeah. It's knowledge that sadly in this first world country has been intentionally removed from our experience here in this creation. That they want us to think that, and when I say they, it's the people that want your money. They don't want you to be able to go out and to get good food, to be able to find it, to understand it. They want you purchasing your food at Walmart and McDonald's.
Right.
And you don't need anything else because you have all your conveniences there.
Right.
So going full circle to what you're talking about, people are concerned now. about what's going on, not only in this country with, cities burning and looting and rioting and, the influx of people who shouldn't be here. You look at the rest of the world, there's a lot of guns and missiles pointed our way with people that are very upset with our foreign policy, and I don't blame them. It's not going to be comfortable on the receiving end.
Right.
And so because all that information has been literally just erased, and it wasn't malicious, they just didn't teach it. We send our kids to school, they're 12 years. How many even know how to germinate a seed?
Right. They teach everything but what they really should be teaching. They don't teach them how to balance a checkbook.
Yeah.
They don't teach them how, this is how you do your budget. This is how you grow something. This is how you they have even eliminated metal shop and wood shop.
Yeah.
So
trade skills.
So you can't do anything but play on a stupid computer.
Yeah.
Or have weird math now.
Yeah.
And whether it's intentional or not, the result is you have kids that could not live on your own. Who has no idea how to feed themselves unless you go to the grocery store. Everything comes from a box. Everything comes from a carton, and things very well may be changing, and you may not be able to go to that box. Go to that store and get that box.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do?
Yeah, well, a great example of that is just recently there was that internet incident. I'm not even sure what happened. I wasn't affected by it, but it was all over the internet where something like 1 billion computers or something, something with an update.
Right.
And
there was millions of people stranded in airports for
flights,
5-6 days.
Flights were canceled. People couldn't use their credit cards, bank accounts, and stuff like that. And that's just very surface.
Right.
Like that was supposedly an accident. I have no idea if it was or it wasn't. But what if it was malicious?
Right.
And how much more damage could have been done. And then the lights don't go on, and the coolers and freezers at the grocery stores aren't working anymore, and you can't get gas to be able to put in your car to go to the grocery store. So these are all things that I don't like scaring people, yet it's reality.
Right.
We live in a very comfortable, convenient society, but it is so delicate, that little line.
The veneer of civilization.
Man, if it's cut, we're no longer a first world nation. We're a third world country.
Well, and the thing is, things are happening whether you like it or not. Look at Yellowstone. It just did a little geyser pop thing, and if Yellowstone were to go, it's the biggest caldera in the world.
Mm-hmm. And it's gone off 7 times before.
Right.
Chances are it might go off again.
And Mount Rainier is having all kinds of issues.
Mount St. Helens.
Is acting up again.
Yeah.
And we have that fault line in California, San Andreas.
Yeah.
And the Cascadia subduction and the New Madrid fault has been acting up. All these things can happen.
Oh yeah.
So it doesn't have to be the end of the world. It just has to be a natural catastrophe. Look at Texas a couple of years ago in that ice storm.
Yeah.
They were without power, without whatever for several weeks.
Yeah.
And that hurricane that just happened down south.
Yeah.
Several people there's hundreds of thousands of people I believe are still out of power.
Yeah.
In Texas in the summer, I don't think that'd be very fun.
No.
So, you need to be thinking on ways to become independent.
Yeah, resilient. And I think that's something that Chris Martinson brings up a lot. I like watching Peak Prosperity. And he talks about that all the time. Look, just take steps to make it so that you and your family, you're more resilient. You can weather the storm. A lot of the stuff we talked about, some of them are major catastrophes. Others happen almost on a yearly basis.
Mm-hmm.
Hurricanes, tornadoes, all these things happen, and the bottom line is something could happen that could potentially displace us.
Right.
And so the silver lining on this is, well, use this time right now to access information, get something that's waterproof, you could throw in a go bag or a fanny pack or whatever, flip through it, maybe watch some YouTube channels or something, just to become familiar with it. One of the perks of going through a wilderness program when I was young is growing up in Northern California, a city boy, I always looked at the mountains and the Sierra Nevadas. I had fun going to scout camp, but it was always treacherous, and everything's poisonous. Don't eat everything. Don't drink from any water source. You're going to get giardia and all that. Just, it's scaring little kids, myself included. I'm talking about myself. But then to get to a point being forced to identify plants because I was starving. I needed food, I needed nutrition, and so when I learned about plants, I would eat them, I would see them, I would seek them out actively. So now later on in life, looking out at these massive, wonderful woods that we have, it's an abundance of resources.
Right.
It's not scary, and
it's
wish
empowering.
it
not
is
scary.
It is.
For lack of
that is always a plan B, and it's a viable plan B because
Right.
for thousands of years people were living out there. Now it's not convenient.
Right.
Sometimes it's not comfortable, and a person has to really work hard to survive.
Right.
Yet just to know and just to have that frame set in our mind that, hey, I can make it. If something happened, I don't care if a person got stranded on the side of a road, in the middle of nowhere, 50 miles from the nearest town or something like that, dark at night, not panicking. There's no reason to panic. Just know that, hey, I've got resources. What do I have on hand? In the morning, there's probably going to be traffic. If not, okay, what are the steps I need to take to be able to, food, water, shelter, go through the list and to remain calm.
Right. That's a big thing.
It's huge.
Maintain your calm.
Up here is the killer.
Right.
People live and die from what they process up here.
That is exactly right. Getting to the point where you think about these things beforehand, where you look at life, or you look at possibilities beforehand, will help you in case they happen.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to start thinking, okay, it's not a scary thing. What could happen? Okay, so I live in an area where there's a lot of forest fires. Okay, so I need to start looking around my house. How could I prevent forest fires from my house? How can I keep my house from, being a, fire hazard to one where I'll be okay. Even if there is a forest fire, my house will be okay. You need to start thinking the same thing. And you need to start looking at life differently. Okay, if you go to a grocery store, is there problems? Is there somebody I should be looking at? Is there things, I don't know, it's just because we're no longer in, we're no longer in Mayberry.
Yeah. Well, it's situational awareness.
Situational awareness.
Yeah, it's being able to be in any situation and to be able to feel comfortable and safe.
Right.
And when we're alone as men, that is one state of being. When we're married and we have kids, that's a whole new ball game. Man, I'll tell you what, when it comes to going into a new area and I got my kids, I've got a big smile on my face. I'm holding my kids' hands and I'm swinging them, but I'm also, I'm the ultimate radar in that room,
right,
checking for anything that could potentially be, a threat to my kids,
right,
or myself, or my wife,
right,
or
exactly,
the people next to me. It's not just an all me thing. I'm also thinking about the other people around me too.
Right.
And I think if we had more of a society that was better informed, as far, again, as we're a part of a wonderful creation, and to have the knowledge to truly appreciate what we're a part of, that we are blessed with an abundance, that life should be a certain way, yet sadly because of money and greed, it's not. Yet we can take control of our life, and we can start learning, we can start adapting, we can start incorporating smart technologies, and a lot of them are age-old technologies, and they're just tried and true. And so by utilizing, past technologies with modern technologies and maintaining that wisdom of the ages, I think that is what is going to ultimately give people that sense of comfort and peace, regardless of what happens.
Well, I firmly believe the world's greatest pharmacy is the world.
Yes.
And if you have a problem, I don't believe, for myself, if I were to be diagnosed with cancer, I am not going to get chemotherapy. They're not going to cut on me. That's the way it is. I've already made that decision.
Yeah.
I am going to look at alternative medicines. I have a friend who has leukemia. He has 2 different types of blood cancer, 2 types of leukemia, because he was exposed to Agent Orange and several chemicals in Vietnam.
Oof.
And so 6 months ago in January, we go out to lunch every month. I thought he was going to die. I mean, he looked horrible. Well, he started taking ivermectin and something else. I can't remember the name, but it's a certain pill that is preset, and both of them are anti-parasitic.
Okay.
And he now goes in for his leukemia test, and they can't even detect it.
Nice.
So, he had gone through the other stuff. He tried the chemo, he tried their different medicines, and he was on death's door. When he went to, the natural ways, he's now doing well.
Yeah.
And, I'm the same way. I'm nothing as drastic, but I have over 70 allergies. And I have gone to dermatologists, my regular doctor, allergists. I've taken medicine after medicine after medicine. They have misdiagnosed me. They have given me stuff that has almost killed me. I mean, literally my throat swells up, my tongue swells up, where I'm having to take my, my shot there, and it's terrifying. Well, this January, I started looking into natural alternatives, because I was taking prednisone every single week, 2 or 3 times a week, to get that stuff under control. And prednisone is poisonous. I mean, it literally has dozens and dozens of side effects that you do not want.
Yeah.
So when I started looking into natural things, I settled on elderberry, cinnamon, ginger, turmeric, and black pepper.
Mm-hmm.
And what those do is they strengthen your immune system.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I still have those allergies. They will never go away, because it was chemically induced. I had a chemical exposure.
Yeah.
So they don't go away. But the thing is, my immune system is now stronger, so that when I'm exposed to it, these symptoms go away faster.
Yeah.
So I'm not dealing with all the skin problems. I'm not having my throat swell up as often, as long, as drastic. So I can be exposed to these things, and the reaction is nowhere near as bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it wasn't because of anything a doctor gave me. It wasn't because of anything, my dermatologist, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It was because of, herbs and spices and plants, and it's just like, wow, God, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for opening my eyes, and thank you for bringing these things into my life, because now I can start living again.
Yeah.
Whereas before, I couldn't.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and you've brought up the pharmaceutical industry a couple times now, and people need to recognize that the pharmaceutical companies, their chemists and laboratories, they had to get their chemicals from somewhere, and that was Mother Nature.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it used to be that Mother Nature couldn't be patented. I know they're trying to change that now. There was some kind of bacteria that they came up with that ate crude oil. It was for the oil spills and stuff like that. Anyway, because they developed that, they were able to patent it, and that was the segue to open up the door to be able to patent seeds and all kinds of stuff.
Oh.
Terrible, terrible future ahead of us when people can patent Mother Nature.
Because Monsanto was doing that with seeds.
Yes, yeah.
That's right. That's how they're screwing all those people in India.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and now there's a difference between GMO stuff, where they'll take CRISPR technology and they'll change stuff, add like Terminator gene and stuff like that. That's a fun rabbit hole. And then they'll patent that seed and then basically buy up all the other seed companies that provide seed, and then only sell that seed out. Europe and several other countries, they no longer accept GMO stuff. I think they dabbled with it a bit, and then they just absolutely refused. And it's interesting that people here in the United States will have gluten intolerance and celiac disease. Yeah, and I've talked with people, and they've gone to Europe, and they've eaten pastries over there, and they don't have the same kind of effects. Now, I don't know if it's the herbicides and insecticides that they're spraying on that, if it's the GMO stuff, I don't know. But there's obviously a definite correlation between what is being allowed to the consumer here in the United States as far as food and in other countries.
Yeah, I have a friend who is a pharmaceutical rep, actually, and celiac disease and gluten intolerance is actually an intolerance of Roundup.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they've done extensive studies on that, I guess, and that's the problem. So
imagine that. We're allergic to an insecticide and an herbicide.
Right, isn't that crazy? I mean, it's like, wow, how sad, because that wasn't around.
No.
We have been eating wheat and whatever for thousands of years.
Europeans, our gut is designed for a grain-based diet.
Oh, yeah, a lot of
including beer. Cheers. Anyway, going back to what you were just talking about. So when people are, like you, considering foraging and, maybe some basic gardening and, adding to the diversity of the food intake, there are different reasons why people will do it. And your example is, I think, one of the most powerful examples for anybody out there. And that is, there is a direct medical need.
Mm-hmm.
And that by doing some basic studying, you came to the conclusion that this was something that would probably work for you.
Right.
You then tried it, you saw that it worked, and now you are continuing doing it, and you've pushed everything else aside.
Right. Thank you for the great interviews, David. And also, thank you for all the extra clips you made to help us become more self-sufficient. I've compiled them together as a single video that I'm releasing today because we need to remember that hope is not an action plan. Thank you for watching, and we hope that you enjoyed today's video. Please give us a like and a share, and be sure to leave your comments down below. From Timbo and myself, we hope that you will have a blessed day.